Hi, everyone, and welcome to this month's podcast. I'm talking to Emily Chepkor, who is the founder of We Run Nairobi. Emily, I'm delighted to have you here with me. And
Thank you.
I'm really, it's so nice to find someone who's an entrepreneur in their own right. And we're going to get into that. But let's start off with your journey. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your growing up. Tell us of everything that we need to know to set the foundation for Emily.
To get into this, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Where did I grow up? These days, I'm really proud of associating with where I grew up because once you get into big city life, I think it matters more, and especially so I grew up in the village, right?
Which village?
In Kapsabet.
Kapsabet.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I went to primary school out there and everything. And so once you've been in the city for a while, I feel that at some point you get to really identify with having not grown up in the city and all of the values that come from growing up in a little village, right? So that's where I grew up. And then I moved to the city because I went to Alliance.
Okay, Alliance.
I did go to Alliance. And then I started my university. So I'm a lawyer as well. And I always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer, right?
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah, yeah, right, great, topical. So I mean, it's the Alliance pipeline anyway. Everyone goes into the traditional professions most of the time. So, but it wasn't just because of that. I liked reading and I liked a grand profession, truly, genuinely. And so I knew I always wanted to get into law. But obviously in the States, you can't do a law degree as your first degree, right? So you have to pick something else.
So was it a liberal arts college?
It was a liberal arts college, yeah. So I started out just because you had to pick something adjacent to law, right? Either political science, history, economics, and so I did. I started out in international relations, and then I moved back to the Uni of Nairobi for law school.
Okay, so you went to law school here.
I went to law school here. Comrade powering, man.
I mean, that is an achievement in itself. When you look back at your early years, and I know you're very young, but when you look back, what would a young Emily say to herself now?
Oh, actually, I do have a very clear answer to this now because I am in this place right now where on most days I'm still uncertain, right? Because the answer is that things will change so many times, right? And you will reinvent yourself so many times, right? I was one of those people who was absolutely sure that I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted a grand legal career.
What kind of when you said legal, what kind of legal did you imagine that you'd be doing?
The glamorous stuff that you've seen on TV, but you come to learn very early on, right? Pupillage from the onset that law is not glamorous, right? And I mean, especially pupillage where all you're doing is holding brief in court, right? It
can be very humbling.
Yeah, it really is just. It's very non-glamorous, right? I mean, so that is already you're dissuaded from that very early on, right? But anyway, you attend enough things and you see all the professionals, and that is the goal, right? When you see a really fierce argument, then that's your goal, right? And so that was always still that was the dream, right? A traditional legal practice. But then after law school, I went into international law, public international law anyway. So I never actually, outside of pupillage, I never actually got to practice traditional law. So it just started from a point of such certainty, and then it was just one decision that led to the next, and actually I never ever got to do the very certain thing I was sure of. So and then now, gosh, I guess what I would say is I'm on sabbatical from legal work, right? And it's looking when I get back into it, because absolutely I will, now my life has just taken such a sports tangent, and now I'm really fascinated by sports law, right?
Yeah.
And so now that might be the next angle of my profession, or a marriage of my profession and this thing that I have come to be really good at, and that has defined my last couple, maybe 5-ish years, right? Yeah. So it's in constant flux, I
mean, I love that, and I also
so many times.
I love that, but also when I met you and when I got to know about you, and when someone showed me your Instagram, I just realized there's so many opportunities that are out there for people to do different things that perhaps were not there when we were looking at careers and what we would do.
Indeed.
You started in law, you can evolve, you can change your career, you can now be an entrepreneur. And I think that's really what is admirable about you and why I wanted to talk to you. So let's talk about it, because I now understand that We Run Nairobi. Tell us about that and how you started it.
So I started the run club because I've been running marathons for a really long time, for about 11 years now, right? And I had just done my 10th marathon, which was at the Boston Marathon. And if you're familiar with the races, it's really such flex to run the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, because it's a very tough one.
It's a tough one. You can't just apply to get into it. You have to qualify to get into it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And to qualify, you have to run a really fast race prior, right? And ideally be like in the top 10 percentile of your age group and things like that. So it's quite an achievement. Okay. Honestly, it's people write LinkedIn articles when they qualify to run Boston, right? Okay. And so I qualified twice, right? So at that point, it had been a goal for a while. And when you achieve something, you have this grand feeling of, that's done, and then what else, right? So there was a bit of maybe plateau with my running, and definitely the inspiration for running, right? There wasn't any goal anymore. I was just signing up for the next race, and then what, you know? So in that lull, I wanted to shift my running focus, right, for a little bit. At that point, actually, I was sure that I didn't want to run the marathon distance anymore, the 42K, right? But I knew that I had been running for so long that it was such a part of myself that I couldn't trust myself to say that I won't run again, like I won't sign up for the next marathon, right? But if I gave myself a purpose with my running, I knew that I could still carry on, and that would be my new goal, my purpose, right? So then I announced on my Instagram that I will stand somewhere at 8 a.m. every Saturday, and if you want a running partner, then I would be there. And on the first day, we had 3 other girls join. And then...
when was this?
2022, October, the first weekend, the first Saturday of October.
Okay.
And then, and I didn't have a big platform or anything, or I wasn't influencery at the time. It was really was just a very personal Instagram, right? So it wasn't as if I was already speaking to a big mass of people. And then it just grew organically that way, right? Not once did we do the traditional marketing where, we asked people to help us get the word out. It really was, if you've seen my post, you came around and then you told someone else about it, and then
How did you map out the running route? And was it a marathon route or just like a 10K or like a 5K?
No, so because again, at this point, I knew Nairobi isn't, we've got the stereotype for being a running country, but that is just a 10, right? And it used to be that. Now the scene has changed, and it's beautiful. I love to see it. Right now, if you go out on a Tuesday morning for a run, you do see people, right? But back then, it was, if you saw someone from across the street, you said hello so enthusiastically, because that was, the one interaction that you would have, right? So I already knew that Nairobi we had our own cohort of marathon runners, right? So all of us who were always running abroad and things like that, we had a whole community.
You already know each other.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. All of us, we trained together. I started out with the Urban Swarers, and then I've
heard of Urban Swarer,
Exactly, right? So it's a super long distance community, right? So for that, we already had our thing, right? But then I lived abroad. I lived and studied abroad enough that always, whenever my first entry into social life in a new city was, I would find the local run club.
Okay.
And always it was just a 5K, It was really just an excuse for the neighborhood to come together. And I knew that had to be the energy, right? Because not everyone is a marathon runner, and especially in Nairobi, where you're asking people to come out on a Saturday morning. That's just not our culture, right? We're resilient in other ways, right? And it's beautiful when, we come together, but I just know that asking people to give up a Friday night or even cut it early so that you could come out for a run
on a Saturday,
right? So it had to be really, really light. It had to be walking friendly as well. So, running is in the name, but then walking is so much at the core of us as well, right? So that language had to be out there already, right? So the first loop was already just a loop right out of my house, so that it was really easy, right? There was no hurdle for me. It's a route I ran all the time. And on the very first day, we had 3 girls of all different abilities, right? And I was the only one who knew the route, right? So I can back my running fairly quite good. So what I did then was the fastest girl and the slowest girl, I would just keep like running laps.
Back and forth.
Yeah. So get to the fastest girl and tell her, okay, when we get there, that's where we turn, and then run back and like do the same, and then keep doing that, right? So it was a 6K loop, and I would cover twice the distance because I would just keep having to lap. To lap people. So that is how it went on for maybe about 3 months. And then little by little, now we started having, someone who's a regular that I could assign the same role, right? Just be like, hang out with this first group and help me out. And then I'll keep doing that for whoever is very new, right? But then again, because it's such a persuasion, right? I understand that Nairobi is in this kind of city. And I'm also like, asking people to come out and try something that I'm promising you will be fine, right? Like you will have someone to run with you and things like that, right? So I'm running, I'm figuring out the route, I'm helping people figure out the route, but also I'm aware that I'm hosting, right? And I have to like be available for someone who's kind of having a rough time and run with them a little bit, but then also like do this across 13 people, right? But then little by little, some people just started becoming like, regulars, and they started helping out with this, especially hosting part of it and the pacing part of it. And then at one point we had a TikTok moment, I think, like a year later. And then we went from being, at that point, we were, a good day was 40, there was 40 of us. We had a big long table and it was all full and it was nice. And if we didn't see someone, we knew exactly why they weren't around, right? We all knew each other quite intimately. And then we had a TikTok moment, and that's how we went into the hundreds, right?
It became viral. Yeah. But and the route is a 5K or a 10K?
So now we go all the way to 15K, but we have options, right? So our first turnaround is at a 5K, and then every 2 kilometers.
Okay.
Every 2 kilometers, there's a marshal to tell you, like, if you're...
There's a marshal, and all of these people are volunteers?
No. So now the operational course and the mapping and the marshalling, all of those we do.
Okay. Yeah. And did you know from the beginning that it could be a business, or did you just stumble upon it?
Absolutely not. And even now, I'm still not of the full perception that this is an enterprise, right? Because I'm still in really the eye of the thing so much that every single Monday as it comes around, I just know, okay, we need to just announce where we will be, and then I need to figure out where we get water and things like that. So I'm really like still in the operational aspect of it, that it still is more community organizing and just ensuring. I always remember that I am asking people to trust that they can come and try out this hard thing and it will be okay, right? So I'm always trying to focus on a really soft landing, right? So there is just a lot of conversations that I have in just how to, especially for the very beginner, for the very first timer, they come out and have a gentle landing.
Yeah, but when I look at the Instagram, it does look very community. It looks like young people having real, proper fun on a Saturday morning, very healthy. It's all of the good things that you would think of life. And I think that's why it appeals to so many people. But how did you get into running?
I started dating this guy, and he was
this guy.
Yes, he's great. He's wonderful. He's great, and he led me into a whole new world. And he was training for an Ironman, right? And so if you're training for an Ironman, you have no free time whatsoever, right? In the morning.
An Ironman, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's what a feat of endurance it is, right? So you are, every free time that you've got, you are training, right? So it was hard to hang out with him without, just feeling that you're holding up
you're
space
not doing
that
enough.
He would be like training, right? Yeah. So then I started going out on runs with him, and then 3 weeks in, we signed up for a half marathon, and I did like fairly well for having no running background or having very little training before that race. And so I figured there is something there, and then I jumped straight into the 42K distance, right? So I signed up immediately for the Standard Chartered of like 11 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
But then for that one, I trained properly, right? Even though I did fairly well for my first 2021, there was enough hardship in the execution of it that I knew I can just no longer like sign up for things and just show
Wait,
up.
a half marathon is 21 and then the full is 42. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So actually, not lots of Kenyans know that, you know?
Okay.
I think whenever Standard Chartered comes around, many corporates, I know this because one time I was pacing the 21, and in the beginning we had a large group of like 200, like mostly bros, right? And I know that energy because it's probably like a corporate ticket, and no one really like appreciates that
how difficult it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then they can back themselves because they have they're type A people, and also they have like probably like a good gym practice. And they're like, yeah, we'll do it, right?
It'll be easy.
Yeah. And in the end, only the four of us pacers finished. Like we dropped everyone off, right? So I think there's like lots of underestimating what it is, and also just truly not knowing, right? For how this sport really defines our national identity. I don't think a lot of us know or follow it that much.
I mean, that's very true. I think we see ourselves as a running nation maybe, but we're not necessarily that, right?
No, we're not. We're not. But I mean, it's great, right? Because we actually get to, we are so good at it that we can afford
maybe
to
natural
just be like,
ability. The natural ability that you have, right?
Honestly, it helps.
Yeah.
The DNA bit of it, I truly believe helps, because running, like endurance running, has come easier to me than it has for a lot of other people. And truly, I genuinely believe there is DNA advantage. And not even just theoretically. I think research has been done on this, and why our community is very good. Yeah.
In organizing the We Run Club, how do you manage to like really do the organization? What is the planning involved? And how does it make you think about how the city is organized and what we need to do to better equip ourselves as as a city for running, or even for exercise, outside exercise?
Yeah, interesting, right? Because, for example, after law school, my first internship was in Johannesburg, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing I did once again I got into Joburg was look up running clubs around me. And even in the UK, you've got this park runs.
Yeah, because park runs are, all the time,
right?
in England.
But then, the city plans for those spaces, right? Like there's a park in every neighborhood where the neighborhood can get to collectively go and do it there, right? In Nairobi, so I've lived in the Westlands area, and the look of the streets has changed, right? There was an election period truly where we got all of the pavements, right? And it's always that, right? I mean, good or bad, there is usually credible infrastructural development around election period, right? So truly,
that's a very interesting observation. Yeah,
it was right. It was just before this one period, and suddenly it used to be that, in fact, because I ran so much, all of the matatus on my route kind of like, I had a rapport with the conductors, and they were very cheery. They'd be, they'd say hello, they'd be encouraging, because I always like ran in the brightest shorts.
Yeah.
So it was easy to spot. I remember this one, like this matatu, like whenever we would cross paths, keep jogging, like it was nice.
Yeah.
But that's because also we had to share the route, and it was, they had to like run around me, right? So I mean, first of all, like, I don't like villainizing matatus or things like that, because I mean, these are like humans, right? They are like people's people, and they do cheer on a good thing, right? Because lots of time, that's the argument is made in the opposite direction, that we really don't have like driving etiquette around running and things like that. And part of it is true, but like also another side of it exists, right? I always have received such encouragement from Buddhas, Matatu driver, like people who maybe are often receiving a harsher cast of stone. But and then there was a period, right, that now this interaction changed because there was a pavement that we could run on, right? And so even like from the very beginning, I knew that obviously is important, because again, these are not people I'm not pandering to people who are gung-ho runners. Like all of us know each other, and all of us are probably at the Urban Suarez or we are run fit, right? So I'm asking like mostly, I think our biggest audience is girls, right? And like who will come out in clothes that they feel good at, but then they feel good in, but they will likely, receive unsolicited,
Correct.
Things like that. And I'm saying like we're running publicly in the streets together, right? So there's a lot of like shielding that has to happen there, right? So the route had to be quiet. They had to be mostly in gated neighborhoods and things like that. And because I'd run so much in this area, I knew all of those routes, right? So our very first route was exactly that. Like immediately we just got into a gated community where we didn't have lots of public
scrutiny and
it's not great, and now we're trying to dissuade it more and more, because in fact we did have like a pretty tragic incident where one of the runners that ran with us was hit on a run.
Gosh.
So it's but like, lots of people, again, because they're not runners like that, right? They're running in
With
headphones and things like that, right? So it mattered that the streets were a little quieter. And on a Saturday night, if it's a neighborhood, you have some surety that there isn't much traffic on the road, right? So if
you do Saturday nights or Saturday day?
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning
Saturday
only.
super,
Yeah. And also it's a safety issue, isn't it?
Absolutely.
For Nairobi. Do you feel safe like when you're running in the morning and stuff like that?
I really do, right? I mean, I'm not naive, right? I run in a gated community that isn't like public transport, right? So my favorite time to run is 4 or 5 a.m., right? I love if I can't see a hill.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone out there is like thinking, let's wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to run.
No, especially when you're training for a marathon and you've got to run like a 30K before your day begins, like you're just now inching even earlier, right? But then even beyond that, some days I really love an early morning, and I sleep a lot, right? I love a sleep. I'm not like functioning on like 5 hours of sleep, right? And so I go to bed at 7 p.m. But I love being up so early and it being like so quiet and dark, and it's like almost a spiritual experience. I love it.
I mean, all of the things that you were saying. First of all, if you were to say to someone who wants to start running, take it up. Why take it up, etc., etc. What would you say to them? What is the number one reason?
Right. Okay. I like to think, actually, I'm an advocate mostly for movement and not necessarily running, right? Like, I understand that running can be so intimidating, right? And also just the fact that you have to, like, surrender yourself to the outside in all its elements, right? And again, like, so much publicity, maybe you feel a little, like, self-conscious about how you look or how you're running and all of that, right? Which is different from the gym where you could be in one corner and do your thing. So first of all, it's just movement, right? So it hasn't got to be running, but like just there's something that changes within you when you push your body, right? So like try out so many things first of all, right? And then, you find out what you're good at. Yeah. But the thing about running that like I think why it's catching on, because I think we're enjoying a wave, right? And it likely will pass, but as you know, with everything, there was a time CrossFit was the thing, right? And then I think we had a Pilates moment, and I think now we've got running, right? So I mean, we know like this is a phase and it'll pass, and which makes sense, right? Because it's all seasonal. Now you're into running, and then you should move on to something else, right? Go challenge your body in several seasons in different ways, right? But I think what is making like all of these things catch on for a moment is because of the promise of like a big community doing it together, right? So you're not really coming obviously you're waking up because you want to come and try out a 5K, a 10K, and maybe now you've done it enough that it's a challenge, and you've got the drive. You want to see how you're doing the next time and the next time. But there's this concept of community travel. Are you familiar with it?
No, tell me.
Right, which is where
like group travel.
No, it sounds like it, but it's not even that, right? Where people travel to a place to do something there, but it's not really the thing that they're going to do. It's knowing that like other people are all like going collectively. Yeah. So it's non-commitment because you can come alone, right? But you'll find people, right? So it doesn't look as if you need to make plans to go to a bar with a friend, right?
Okay.
For this, you can come alone, and then you'll find people similar to you. And like this is the same thing with like hiking groups and things like that, right? The promise is come alone, and you'll find other people to hang with.
Yeah,
right?
It does look as if, from what I can see, that there's a really nice community of people, very encouraging, everyone running together.
Absolutely.
So you've said the thing for the individual to come. What would you say to like the government or the county to improve the way in which running can be done in the city?
I like the example that we have with Rwanda, for example. First, I don't think we need to build anything, right? As we started, it doesn't, we don't need new infrastructure for this, right? But we could make it a little bit safer, right?
Okay.
And especially now it's so topical, again, because the running community like has so freshly lost someone like doing the thing that now we're all.
This is the person that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
But so, Rwanda, right? They've got fantastic pavements anyway, and that's a thing.
Yeah,
The
okay.
infrastructure is fantastic, so you could run anytime, right? But every Saturday morning, no, every Sunday, they do cordon off like one street, and the whole town can just like go and like do fitness on the
Okay.
street, right? And it's not, it impacts traffic probably, but it's Sunday traffic, right? So you're not really like
Yeah.
disrupting the movement of the city, right? So it could be things like that. It doesn't need to be, we need to build a stadium so that everyone can go like run laps in the stadium. Just be like in every neighborhood, nor parks, right? We are beyond that point. We luckily have Karura and we have Arboretum, but it could just be a
For now.
safe street in every neighborhood, right? So like in Buru, you're saying like this one road, that's 1 kilometer, half of it is cordoned off from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. on a Sunday, like just go and do things, right?
I mean, I think we've realized more recently, because it's hit us more, that we needed a lot of infrastructure and investment in this country. And I think you're right. Now that you've talked about the individual, you've talked about the government, now let's talk about Emily as an entrepreneur and as a businesswoman.
Oh, gosh.
Where do you see yourself playing a role in making sure that either from a policy perspective or even from your business perspective, that you're running a business that is credible and that is investable? Because that's really
Yes,
where
indeed.
it's at,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Gosh, so well framed as well. Because for the longest time, the question as to where we would see ourselves in a couple of years, the answer used to just be like sustainable, right? Like we are free and we will remain that way forever, right? Again, I think like running is so infrastructureless. Honestly, it's, you haven't got to, there needs to be no more barriers to it, right?
So one of the things that is very crucial for you to know is that ethos is what is going to carry you through, right? The ethos that you can run for free, or that running should be free,
Yeah,
is one that
absolutely,
your
right?
business will carry on, right?
Yeah, right. And then and also like that has now been a model that now is adopted, so there's
Yeah.
success with that model, right? But where we are now is we've gone to a point where we might even be a menace on the streets, right? Now the sustainability question is no longer what we agree. It's now how do we make this like safe and sustainable, right?
Because of the large numbers of people, right?
Exactly, right.
How do you do that?
And then, right. And so this is like why policy and everything will come into place,
Yeah.
right? Because then how we sustain ourselves now, our back end, our human resource, and all of this is that we do have corporate partnerships, right? And the thing about corporate partnerships is that you won't attach yourself to something that could be shut down by the government or be just a menace to the public or things like that. So at this point now we are grappling with the questions of like making this safe, right? We have 500 people like running in Westland streets. Obviously, we are creating some like disturbance with like, whenever we are, crossing major roads or something. How sustainability looks for us now is like now to figure out like the safer practice for this, either like head out into the forest or but like it has to be like, if the goal is to replicate this in all of the neighborhoods, so you don't have to like mats from Syokimau to Westlands all the time, and you can find just like We Run Sioux in Sioux, right?
I like that.
You should it just needs to be publicly in the streets, right? And so at some point I do know that like we have to deal with how we consistently ensure that there is safety, right? And for that, the city council has to be involved
work with the county and then separate and segregate.
Indeed.
How does that, from a business model perspective, how does that look like? Because why I'm interested in that is because it's a different business model from anything that anyone else has seen. It's a public good, but how to make it financeable or financeable is the thing.
Indeed.
You're going to tell me that's not your goal.
Yeah, well, no,
Okay.
it should be, right?
It should
I mean,
be, yes. Okay, good.
It's now the thing that takes up your. I mean, it's something that gives me joy. Absolutely. The most wonderful thing is Saturday morning whenever someone for the first time has done this like feat of fitness
Yeah.
and they're so proud of themselves, right? But also, if I am, I have come into this thing that is at the intersection of something I love and something that I could like spend my life doing for a while. Anyway.
Or for a while.
Yes, in fact, right?
It's a venture.
Yeah, it has got to be something that I can, sustainability means passing it to the next person and ensuring they also can like carry on with it,
Yeah.
right? So I think what we have is like our blueprint that we could replicate, right? And like that is. Like the model, the model with which we do this is our only like IP, right? Right. So because it's just really a collection of free
And the name.
Yes, I mean, of course, right? But then it's really like it's free access. It's things like that, which it's mostly like leaning into the social enterprise where it is a public good that can be grant funded or can be corporate like CSR backed, right? But like our IP, the thing that like we
what you can monetize is the way that you do things.
Exactly, right.
The model.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so like how we could replicate it, like how you could franchise the thing is like that training to like other little like other community leaders in their own communities and things like that, right? And then get it beyond Nairobi,
Get it beyond
like
Kenya,
other cities, get it like into East Africa, and
correct,
things like that.
I mean I mean the potential is so huge, and to even imagine that it started from 3 girls running on a Saturday and you just calling people to run. I mean that's an amazing feat, and I can't wait to see where you go with it.
Oh, thank you.
I also want to talk about like you're now like an influencer, I guess, in the real sense of the word, in terms of you're corporate sponsored.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that? How did you get into that? For anyone who's looking to become an influencer, because it's not as easy, I don't think, as people think.
Fascinating.
How did you get into it? Did they approach you, or did you market? Did they see the We Run Club? Or how did it come about?
Yeah, I think because like I'm at the intersection of like leading like such a big group of people, right? Most of the time, thankfully, I haven't had to pitch myself. It's just that like We Run runs the entire gamut of like Nairobi, right? So you've got the students, you've got like ambassadors that run with us, and we've got like like business people. So I love it so much because honestly it's just like a melting pot of things, right? But the thing is like I'm always like standing on a stool every single Saturday, and because I'm making the announcements, hosting afterwards and things like that. So I'm really like easy to find. So because of that intersection, me personally, as I have gone into this fascinating like I guess influencer work, right, is that I am found that way, right? Most of the time like the conversations are from the runs, right? People know me from the runs, and then they think it's good energy, and that's how it all comes around. So like the biggest one I would say, which is when I got named brand ambassador for On, was
On is the running brand, right?
Yes,
shoes and etc.
Was like when I got the email, I was so shocked and I thought it was a scam, right? But like most of it has just been like that. It always has just been you're leading something I think that is truly like socially good, and that's kind of an energy that is matchable by
and I mean it's a really good it's a good thing to see, especially for African influencers. It's much more difficult than in Europe, and for you to be out there and be sponsored by such a big brand is a representation of the work that you're doing. What I think you then need to do is consider the economics of it and making sure that you're well represented. But I'm sure because of your legal background, you're leveraging that, right?
Yeah, it's okay. But you know how they say, like even lawyers need lawyers.
Correct.
Gosh, you could really like undersell yourself when it's all you.
Yeah. We can talk later.
Indeed.
Tell me about what are you enjoying these days? I mean, it's a full-on calendar. You're corporately sponsored. You're doing your vlogs. You're doing your running. You're running the club as well. What are you enjoying these days? What is it that makes you like tick?
It's so fascinating. And I said before, it's such constant flux, right? Because I would say up until last year, the thing I did was like I led a run, right? But these days, I'm invited to rooms like this, to panels that I'm speaking at. And little by little, like there is a credibility of leadership that I'm getting associated with, right? And it's again like a little change of my person,
Yeah.
right? So that now it's just no longer that I lead a run, right? Then I'm asked to speak on things, right? Like, sports management and
Yeah.
the landscape of
Yeah.
this whole thing in the country, right?
Yeah.
So it's been interesting, right? Because then now I'm having to like learn language that's fresh, right? Which is just not, what's your Strava split, right? It's like in the whole grand scheme of policy or leadership or like youth and youthful activities. Then I've got a credible voice there, and
Yes.
now I've got to like figure out
But
how
this is exactly where I'm leading to in terms of the traditional way, and I'm sure this is the way for many people who are grown up, in the 80s, etc., is that you gain your authority through experience and through being given titles and ability to enter rooms. And what you're demonstrating is that you can start something, you're the founder, and you're leading without necessarily having a title.
True.
And that's interesting. Tell me how you navigate that, because you're being authenticated through the work that you're doing.
True,
Not
right.
necessarily through being given that title.
Absolutely.
How are you navigating that as a young person?
Yeah, and the equivalent of a grand title would be if I had won like a race, right?
Correct.
Where that gives you like the most credible authority, right? But I'm a good runner, but I'm not a podium finish runner, right? And I think that's what like community leaders kind of come into the whole authority thing, right? It's that they lead a community that trusts them, and trust takes such a long time to build, right? So you come for the first time and you maybe hate it and you're like, I won't do it again. But 3 days in, you're like, I challenged myself, I will go and try again, right? So it starts from, you're promising someone, you're asking them to trust you, right? And then slowly by slowly, then that's your credibility, right? It's just that like I trust this space that she's created, and that is what lends you the authority later on, right? But then I think then what makes it kind of credible is that because it's so intimate, right? Because you're asking people, you're asking people to try out something really hard, and you're telling them that I will help you through this, right?
And why should I trust you to be the one to help me?
Indeed. And which is now I think it just comes down to your personality, right? It's how you speak to people after, it's how you remember what they did when they came and how they're doing now. It's that mostly the person that receives the first feedback from people like off of a run. So I know if they're doing what they've done today and how they did whatever. So it's a lot of hosting that it's just constant conversation in the most intimate moments of people's lives, right? So it's not authority again that like is so like glaring, but it's just that now I know so often that whenever I need to ask the community of something, I trust very much that like it'll just be okay, and like people will like volunteer things like this, right? So yeah, I think it's I've meandered and forgot how I was.
No, I think what you're saying, from what I'm understanding, is that you're getting the strength of your running and the strength of your ability to trust the community that you're involved in, and your ability to gel with the people that are running with you is what gives you the strength to continue to be a leader in that role. And I think that's really great. You don't look like you get stage fright. You don't look like you have imposter syndrome. All of the things that young people or younger people might suffer from.
Yeah.
Do you get that or not? It's a foreign concept to you.
No, not really, because everyone does, right? Like even lawyers do. My goodness, the first time you had to do anything, right? Yeah. But
and even today,
right? but it's always the same. It's the same trajectory always, right? You find solid ground, but before you find solid ground, there's a bit of a curve.
Yeah.
Right? But the thing that I am absolutely confident I can do, and that's what in the very beginning I could do, is that I can run well, right?
Okay.
I can run slow, I can run fast enough. Like I'm not Kipchoge, right?
But
I could not,
that's your
like, keep up
nickname,
with
Kipchoge.
again, right? But in this like lifestyle runners group, like I can back myself, right? So I knew I could really like I can temper a run and I can create an experience where like the fast girls and boys and the slower girls and boys kind of like feel that they're part of the same thing, right? And that was my authority, right? For that, I had no imposter syndrome. Through the week, when I am like negotiating contracts, I have imposter syndromes. 50% of the time I'm underselling myself, and I love now that like we get to have like more professional help to like negotiate and things like that. But in most of those rooms, and I'm out of my depth, right? But the one thing that I am absolutely sure about, and which helps, right? Like the one thing that you have authority in, just have authority in it, absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And I love this about lawyers because it's usually like probably right now, if I ask you a traffic law question, you have no idea, right?
None.
But ask you an M&A question and you can, so we always like go deep in the one direction. And then from that point, we have, the snootishness to be like, I know nothing about convincing, right? But like, you won't catch me missing.
But what I think is really admirable is the fact that you're doing something for the first time, which has not really been done before, and that is the newness. Because if you talk about M&A, for example, I've been doing it for more than 10 years, so I should really know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But if you're brave enough to venture into something new, then we can only respect that, and that is why I can only encourage you, Emily,
I see
to
what you
continue.
mean. Yeah. No, thank you.
What advice would you give to a young person going into law, someone thinking maybe, because you were doing
International criminal law, yeah.
I mean, which is completely different from a corporate commercial
For sure.
thing,
Yeah.
section. What would you say to someone who's looking into coming into law or thinking maybe I can be an entrepreneur? What advice do you have?
First of all, is that this is what I know now, which is not probably useful for like someone in their early 20s and just getting into the field. But at some point, getting an assistant like really changes everything.
Really?
Right? Absolutely, yeah. Because this just means it's not an assistant, right? Most of the time, you will come into a very symbiotic relationship where you have
As like an
inbuilt-
actual assistant, not the virtual assistant. Okay.
Yeah, an actual assistant.
I love that.
Because sometimes, and especially African culture, where most of the time we do start out on this like professional course, right? Very academic, and you just must earn your stripes academically
Correct.
first, right? And then everyone does have an idea that they get to like put on the sidelines because you're processing your professional stuff as you should, and they get it, right? Like find credibility as well. Being a lawyer lends me so much credibility, and I get it. Like even though it doesn't get to become the leading part of your later life, like it's the discipline of it, the whole what it takes to get there. Like people will rate it and respect it forever, right? But then if you have like a little idea that you would think you want to explore, just we do have like a wide range of economic realities in Nairobi that you can find an assistant and you can already start like working with someone on that thing on the sideline that doesn't have to take you away from like the demanding and rigorous work of like a legal profession, right? But if you know that like later you want to get into Pilates training, right, you can start like building a thing, and also you can viably run it with someone else, right? And then what I know now is that, my goodness, like things will change, right? The luckiest people are, as you are, who you knew exactly what you wanted to do. Oh, I have such envy, right? You knew what you wanted to do. You stuck it out, and now you are a force in M&A, right? Oh, what a wonderful thing, right? But then there are...
The journey has been arduous and long.
But then you've stuck it out, right? What resilience. I love it, right? Because on the other hand, like you could be like, 3 years in an M&A, maybe it's not it, right? I'm gonna like do the next master's and do something else, right? But looking back at someone with like such a hefty amount of time put in one thing is now so like enviable to me, because the reality of my profession is that like it's changed so many
Changing, but
times, right?
that's what conversely someone like me would admire of you, because you have the
Interesting,
ability to
huh?
change
Yeah.
and do a set of things. That's amazing.
Fascinating. Look at us. It's so
Exactly.
interesting.
Okay, so we've talked about what you would tell someone who's younger. What is the future like for Emily? And first Emily, and then the We Run Club.
I see. I think now I'm really like fascinated. I'm looking to like marry this thing again that I love so much, movement and all of it. I like the space I've come into it, and again, just to whom much is given, right?
Yeah.
It's that I think there could be in a couple of years real like city infrastructure, like real city change that like we could have influenced, and be so proud of that, right? So a little bit of that, and then legally as well now for the 38th time, like I would like look into like sports laws, sports management and things like that.
Yeah,
I think
is that
eventually
studying or?
Oh, it's actually a very short course like
Okay.
that is offered at Strathmore.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just I think it's one of those executive courses that just helps you get into to familiarize yourself with like with whom to pitch yourself and things like that, right? So that would be the phase X. Y or
Well,
Z
who
of my
cares?
legal career.
It's even we don't even know where it will take you. But all I know is that
Yeah.
Emily, you have a very, very bright future, and I'm really wishing you.
you.
I mean, we are all wishing you all the best.
Oh, thank you so much.
To see where you go.
Yeah.
Quick fire round before we end.
Sure, let's
Okay,
go for it.
morning run or evening run? I know the answer to this.
Morning run.
Okay, your favorite running route?
At the moment, oh gosh, quick fire. I like so many, but I'm gonna go with Karura.
Karura, okay.
Yeah.
In terms of the marathons, isn't there like you're supposed to do like all 5, like like the EGOT thing?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's called the Ball
boss-
Majors.
Okay.
Used to be 6, now it's 7.
So how many have you done?
3.
And are you hitting that? Are you going for all 7?
Yeah.
So what's next
Yeah.
then?
It's now it's lottery system, so it's just whatever you get in via
fine.
lottery. But what I've got left is Tokyo, London, New York, and Sydney.
Oh, wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
One city you would love to run in next. So maybe the next one. What would you love?
Tokyo.
Tokyo. Coffee before or after the run? Because I know you're a coffee
and
lover.
after. Yeah,
Both.
yeah.
How many coffees do you have a day?
Like 2 cups, but
Oh, it's
all
not bad.
before midday.
Okay, yeah. One word that describes We Run Nairobi.
Informal.
Informal?
Okay, no, that's not a good one.
Fun.
Okay, wholesome.
Wholesome, I
Yeah.
think it's a good word.
Yeah.
One life lesson that running has taught you.
Resilience.
I mean, that's a key word.
Yeah.
One thing you hope people feel after We Run Nairobi then.
Oh, I would have gone with resilient as well, but maybe joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see it in the videos, and well
Yeah,
done, Emily.
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks, Njeri.
Everyone. This has been Emily. She's been brilliant. Take care of yourselves. See you next month.
Thank you.